Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cheryl Reardon, and I'm the Chief HR Officer here at the University of Iowa. And I'm so glad you had the opportunity to join us today. I'm joined by my colleague, Joni Tracer, who is the Deputy Chief HR Officer and Senior Assistant Vice President. And we're here to share some information about the return to campus for our employees. And I suspect many of you on the listening in today are our employees. And again, really want to talk through that plan that we've developed from a campus perspective. As you might imagine, we've been spending several weeks thinking through what's the best way to prepare as we come back to campus. And we've developed a steps forward document that we'll go over here shortly. I also want to talk about the Hawkeye community that has, I think, grown stronger as we've worked through the COVID crisis. We, as many of you know, and worked on campus, we flipped our campus both from a on-campus to off-campus virtual workplace, working remotely for several months now. And our faculty members who were teaching in the classroom had to flip their classes in the spring. And so it's with that spirit as members of the community at the University of Iowa that we're going to really need to work together to make this the best possible return to campus for our faculty, staff, and students. Our collective goal really is to lower the risk to the community, again, as we work through the return to campus for our employees. I want to start here and talk about the announcement last night from the Iowa City School District. And I know many of you might have this on your mind and might be feeling a little bit of stress and anxiety with regards to the decision to go online. I want you to know up front that we too learned of it last night, but we've got a team assembled already developing options and support for employees. So we'll cover that in a little bit more detail, but I know that may be top of mind for many of you, and just wanted to share that we are actively working on a plan so that we can work together and support our employees, working with supervisors, again, for a safe and productive return back to campus. So with that, Ben, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to go ahead and advance here. So I wanted to share with you a little bit of information, and if you have listened into some other presentations, you have seen this information. But the steps forward document that was developed by CIMT and was released about a month ago is really our framework for returning to campus. Decisions and leadership has been through that CIMT committee, and that stands for Critical Incident Management Team. And if you've looked at that document, you've also seen that we've got some principles out there, and putting our people first as a university is top of that list, and an important part of what we need to do from a campus community. We know we're only as strong as the people who work for us and the students that come to our campus. So we will continue to use this as our guiding principles as we plan with leadership for a safe return. CIMT, just as a reminder, is a critical incident management team, and it's a group of individuals that serve in leadership positions within an incident command structure. The incident command structure is a component of the National Incident Management System, or NIMS, and it's recognized as a best practice both inside and outside of academia. From a UI leadership perspective, President Harold appointed the team. Several leaders on our campus serve on that committee, and it really is organized around Emergency Operations Center through the ability to manage a crisis or an emergency. There's a planning section, an operations section, a logistics section, finance and administration. We've got some incident commanders, communications, and health safety officers. And those individuals have been meeting again for several months as we embarked on the COVID crisis, and now are several months into it, to make sure that we have a strong plan moving forward and the steps forward to return to campus come fall 2020. I want to talk now, and Ben, if you could advance, please, about the plan itself within the HR. It's called Employee Experience, if you've looked at the plan. And there's 4 key components that we're going to be sharing with you today. We've had, as you might expect, new policies and procedures that we've had to develop over the course of the last several months. We've had to work with our deans and VPs on a return to campus and plan for a smooth and safe return to campus. We also have to ensure that we're supporting you as our employees, and what resources can we provide out of university HR. So we'll cover some of that as well as training and what we're doing from a training component to, again, ensure that employees, faculty, staff, and students have all the information that they need to be comfortable with the return to campus come August here, 24th, 2020. For some of you, the employee acknowledgement, you may have already signed this acknowledgement form, and it's on the self-service page, and there's the red arrow there. It's on the banner page. And really, the expectation is that you will acknowledge and agree to the acknowledgement, and it's broken up into two major sections. One that deals with health and safety and practices associated with health and safety, and the other major component is what happens if I become ill or I'm exposed. And under health and safety, we'll have details about protective equipment, physical distancing, hand washing, and again, what our expectations are as employees come back to campus. On the health side, what happens if I become ill or I know somebody that has become ill or tested positive? So we've got some expectations in the acknowledgement. What do I do if I test positive myself? And what happens if I feel like I've been exposed? And we'll ask for your partnership and your collaboration as members of the community, as kind of a contract with you and with other members of the community, that we have policies and procedures here, but we're going to need to work together to make sure that we have a safe return for everybody on campus. So I'd encourage you to go in and sign that, look at it and sign it. Again, it's on the front page of self-service in the banner. Pretty quick read, and we'll ask you to click your acknowledgement towards the end of that document. One of the things that you'll see is face coverings, and face coverings must be worn on campus. And as just to put that into perspective, as I came into the office today, I had my face covering on until I got into my office, and then was able to take that off. And that's really the expectation, that when you're in a public building, university building, you're wearing that mask, that face covering, and when you're in a private office alone, able to take it off. Also thought it was important to share with you kind of the definition of face coverings. You'll see here cloth coverings, disposable masks, or cloth masks, or a face shield would fall under that definition. And what we're asking is for you to wear a face covering. I've got my Hawkeye one here that I'll just share with you, that I've got, and that I wear proudly as a member of the Hawkeye community, and would ask you to do the same thing. The university will also be providing you as an employee with a packet as you return back to the workplace. That will include cloth masks and disposable masks and a face shield and hand sanitizer as well. And how you would obtain a cup or a packet would be through your self-services representative. And if you have a hard time finding that person, your HR representative at your department or your college would be also able to help you locate a packet, so that, again, you've got the needed protective equipment as you return back to campus here come fall 2020. The hashtag #MaskUpIowa, and some of you may have seen this if you are on social media, is a campaign that the university is partnering with several different entities in both on our campus and in the Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, and Iowa City area. We want to make sure that we have a campaign around our expectation with regards to wearing a mask. So you'll see hashtag #MaskUp. Captured a few pictures of some students here that are proudly wearing their masks, and would encourage you, if you are a member and have opportunity to share any photos of yourself, join in the hashtag #MaskUp and do your part, again, as a member of our community, to make sure that we all are safe as we return back to campus. That employee acknowledgement, you'll also see some information related to what happens if I have symptoms or I test positive. And at the core of this is really making sure that there's open communication with your HR representative. If you develop a new symptom, or you've been in contact with someone, or you test positive or are diagnosed yourself, we want you to make sure you let your HR representative know that. We'll also want to make sure that you follow any public health recommendations for testing and self-isolation, as well as cooperating with contact tracing. And I know top of mind for many of you has been this idea of contact tracing. We will work in partnership and in coordination with Johnson County Public Health. Johnson County Public Health legally serves as the public health authority for Johnson County, and again would work in partnership with those individuals as we would need to do any contact tracing on campus. So again, you'll see some expectations in that acknowledgement with regards to symptoms in a positive test. I know another topic that many of you may have questions about, and we've certainly received calls about this, is interest in what happens if I am a person who has increased risk for severe illness because of COVID-19. And so this, based on the CDC guidelines, we've come up with the following process. And there's a couple slides on this. I'll walk through this one because I know it's important to many of you. So if you're an individual that would fall into a population with a vulnerability as defined by CDC, what we'll do is start to work with you through university HR and through your local leadership. The population and the definition of a vulnerable population is on the CDC website, and we link directly to that. They recently updated their definitions, so that is one area that again, for us to make sure that we are consistent with CDC, we'll ensure that link is up to date and monitoring that frequently. The opportunity to work with leadership to have a temporary alternative work arrangement is available to all of our employees, so faculty, staff, and including student employees. And I've listed here a few examples of some of the arrangements that we would consider based on the health condition and medical documentation. So Ben, if I can have you flip to the next slide, I'll go through the process so that it's clear to you how you would start through to request this. So you as an individual employee can do this, or you can work with your HR representative at the local level. I have listed the link here at the bottom of this slide that will take you directly to the website where there's an electronic intake form is the best way to describe it. It's on the university HR website, and the unit that manages this for us is Faculty Staff Disability Services in partnership with our colleges and our unit VPs and deans. We'll ask you to provide some medical documentation and be flexible and reasonable with that medical documentation. That will then all come into university HR, and we'll confirm your eligibility. And then the work begins between the HR organization at the local level, your college and unit leadership, and then of course working with yourself and university HR. So I would ask that you do this if you're feeling like this is a request that you want to make. I would encourage you to do this as soon as possible, and particularly if you are teaching in the classroom. As we approach fall semester, we want to have as much time as possible to work with you on any reasonable alternative work arrangements. And just want to, if you can get that into us as early as Friday would be fantastic, but as soon as possible. And again, we will start to work and prioritize so that we can get through that list so we're ready to go come fall as our faculty, staff, and students come back on campus. So if you think back to that first slide, I talked about there were 4 aspects of the return to campus plan that HR was responsible for. And this is the second of the 4 items. And it's how organizationally we're working with college deans and VPs to make sure that we can ensure a safe and smooth transition back to campus back in a modified in-person work environment, and that we're prepared for teaching on campus and learning come fall. So the deans and VPs have been great. That we've been now through 2 steps of a 3-step process. Deans and VPs have created organizational transition teams. Those teams have been outstanding partners as working with CIMT to make sure we're ready to go. And recognizing that the Steps Forward document creates the framework for us, but the decision making really needs to be at the local level, because as we've learned now going around to each of the colleges and units, there are unique needs that each unit has that we couldn't necessarily anticipate centrally. So very productive conversations, and can just share with you that I've been impressed with our leaders on campus and their willingness to work, plans in place, ready to anticipate any and all different scenarios that might develop here as COVID continues to dominate what we manage here on a day-to-day basis. We also asked our deans and VPs to share with us the number of employees that would be on campus in 3 different time intervals. 30 days, and that 30 days is really up now. That was the June timeframe through our pilot programs. 60 days, which we're almost completed our 60-day time, which would be the end of July, and then a 120-day time interval. And that will help us as we've been working now with facilities management and ability to manage and work through our buildings, just to have a sense of how many people are on campus. You know, our goal is to keep density down, and this helps us with our planning process. So again, very productive, positive conversations. We have 1 step to go, and that step is to ask deans and VPs to rate their readiness to come back. So do they need additional help? And if so, we'll know that early, by early August, and be able to reallocate resources so that, again, we're ready to go as students and faculty and staff come back onto campus come August 24th. And with that, I'm going to turn the conversation over to my colleague, Joni Traster, and let her talk through the 2 additional aspects of the HR plan.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for participating. As Cheryl mentioned, we have a 4-part plan, and this is the 3rd component, our support for employees. And I would say that support for mental health and well-being has been at the forefront of our pandemic response. Barry Schreier, the Director of University Counseling Service, and Maggie Moore, the Director of our Employee Assistance Program, they co-chair a critical incident management subcommittee specifically focused on mental health resources for our campus community. And one result of their efforts is a complete comprehensive online guide for faculty, staff, students, visitors in our community regarding mental health resources. You can access that at mentalhealth.uiowa.edu. 2 upcoming forums are planned for faculty and staff. These will be delivered via Zoom, and one is on how to care for students and people you may supervise, and the second one is really on resources for caring for yourself when you're also helping and supporting others. We have a number of ongoing workshops that are provided by our campus experts in the areas of resilience, coping, and stress management. You can learn more at the mental health webpage. And then finally, our employee assistance program is available to help faculty, staff, and their families, either through individual or family counseling. You can connect directly with the EAP program at eaphelp@uiowa.edu. We've also learned that some additional support for employees would be of interest as we conducted some surveys on campus. One was helping to set up the remote work office. So we've developed an online ergonomic toolkit to assist you in putting together that home office and how that might be best set up. Additionally, we know that for working families, childcare resources are of the utmost importance. We do have a significant amount of resources, both for just-in-time childcare and for summer-based programs for school-age children. And as Cheryl mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, just last evening, the Iowa City School Board did vote in support of the K-12 school opening for fall that would be online only. Please rest assured we are actively engaged in discussion and planning with campus leaders for assistance and support for childcare, as well as use of our remote work policies and available leaves, both for our working families as we start the fall semester. As new information becomes available, we'll continue to update our resources and communicate with campus. In March, the majority of us began working remotely, and in April, a survey was conducted to begin to understand the impacts of that remote work and also to help us identify areas of support for the remote worker. Approximately 3,800 individuals responded. Overall, the results lean positive, with a slight majority indicating improved performance and improved unit service with the remote work experience. That said, we know there's continued work to be done to support our remote worker. With that, we've established additional resources that you can access online. In summary, it's very important to establish a dedicated space, continue to connect with your team and supervisor, and make sure that there's a routine and a plan in place. Next slide. The fourth component of our return to campus plan is training. As we indicated, trying to make sure that we have a coordinated approach to our training is very important. An advisory committee chaired by Teresa Culper and University Human Resources and committee members made up of subject matter experts from campus are advising on the content and development of 4 modules. These include an employee module, which is slated to be available later this month, a parent and student training modules, which are slated to be available in early August, and then a module for supervisors, which is slated to be available in mid-August. The hope here is that we can deliver a consistent and coordinated message to campus, and that we can all continue to work together as we look for our return to campus for the fall. With the employee training module, it will be required that all employees complete this. This includes employees that are not necessarily returning to work on campus at the beginning of the fall semester. The content is expected to cover some basic pandemic COVID-19 information. As Cheryl indicated earlier, some expectations of employees and recommended behaviors, guidelines around distancing, cleaning, disinfecting in the workplace. It will be delivered via Icon, and you can expect as you complete that course that there will be an assessment at the end for completion. The supervisor training will be available for administrative supervisors. First and foremost, we want to make sure supervisors understand what to do if their employee gets sick. We also want to make sure that as we continue to supervise in the remote work environment or the hybrid work environment, that supervisors are trained and ready to continue employee engagement strategies, making sure that connections are maintained, relationships are built, and we have fair and equitable treatment across all employees. Again, delivered via Icon, and assessments will be required at the end for completion. So we've had a number of questions that we field in Human Resources every day, and we tried to find some of the most prevalent ones to make sure that we could address those as part of this forum. We know that childcare resources are very important. As indicated earlier in the presentation, there's online guides for comprehensive resources, both just in time and summer programming. And we recognize the need to keep this updated as we respond to what's being identified for fall schools. So continue to check out those resources, and we'll continue to communicate with campus. We also have been asked repeatedly strategies and programs that are available to address our mental health and well-being. We do have the comprehensive website, mentalhealth@uiowa.edu. Programs are being developed with the forums held next week and the following in July. Ongoing, we'll continue to address these issues, and our critical incident management subcommittee has a complete postvention strategy that will be released at the beginning of the fall semester. Many of you have asked that you've been working remotely now since March and you want to continue this arrangement. So what are the next steps? First, we would advise that you have a conversation with your supervisor, and then you need to begin to understand how remote work might align with your department's plans for return to campus, and then continue that dialogue with your supervisor. Once those things have been considered, you can document a remote work arrangement. Those directions and forms are available at the FlexWork website within University HR.
So a couple other questions. This is, again, Cheryl Reardon here, that we've been receiving in University HR. The first is really related to, I have a concern that a family member has a health condition and I need to come back to work. It's important to note here that we have a process for this. It's the same process as if you yourself had a condition where you felt you needed an alternative work arrangement. And so, again, CDC is recognizing individuals who live in the home. So please work with your departmental HR rep, complete that intake form, and then begin to work with FSDS, or Faculty Staff Disability Services, to develop that alternative work arrangement. I know many of you have had questions. Again, we've gotten this one several times about, kind of my coworkers aren't following the rules on wearing that face covering or that face mask. This is another example of where we've created some new policies and procedures. So University HR has developed guidelines for supervisors as they manage and coach at the local level. If there's repeated violations, we'd ask that you work with your HR rep and our Employee and Labor Relations unit. And if there are egregious violations, we certainly will work with employees, hold those employees accountable for that. Our greatest strength here, again, is working together as a community. The expectation is we've got to wear the protective equipment so collectively we can lower the risk of spread. And so we'll take this very seriously as we work through the return to campus come August. So with that, I want to thank you for joining in the presentation today. This has been a very unexpected time for us in University HR. Our team has been outstanding, trying to work together, managing new and different crisis situations that come up on a day-to-day basis, new policies, new procedures that have to be developed. And so a shout out to University HR and the HR unit reps for all that the folks have done to help us get to this point. HR will be your resource as you come back to campus. So we want to make sure that we are here for you. And we know that as an academic institution, our employees, our people are our greatest asset. So we will work with you. We want you to raise your hand if you've got questions and come to us. Our collective goal here as we return is to have a smooth transition back, both for the employees, but also importantly for our students. Those students expect that they're going to have a world-class education. And our job as faculty staff is to make sure that we do whatever we can to deliver on that mission. And so with that, I, again, want to thank you for tuning in here today. And again, wish everybody the best of luck as we all return to campus here come August 2020. Thank you.